Okay. The Jack. Not quite the king. An infected outsider arrives, seeking amnesty. They have some much needed resources with them, so we can welcome them into the community and remove a scarcity, but also introduce infection, or we can keep them from entering, and what scarcity could they have addressed, and what becomes more dire? So where are we at here? Yeah. So, someone is infected. Letting them in fixes. What does that say? Yeah, fixes a scarcity. Keeping them out makes the scarcity worse. So you were talking about getting rid of the mushrooms. Remember, it's a scarcity of them, so there really aren't that many. I mean, relatively. We are slowly mutating. Well, I don't know. Something must be happening because that was one of our problems was that the markings were starting to spread in the community. So it's quite possible. Yeah, spores. Quite possible it is infectious. So we might already be infected. But this could also be something completely different. Yeah, it's an outsider is infected. Letting them in removes a scarcity, but gives us an infection. Keeping them out makes a scarcity worse. This week. So I guess that might just have an impact on a future decision in a week's time. This is one of those storytelling events that doesn't necessarily have an impact on the game, just like number 7. I think number 7 was just there as kind of a reprieve. Okay. So the person is a mutant from that mysterious corporation offering weapons that they stole. Okay. We take them in. Okay. So we now take this out of scarcity. Nope, nope. I need this one. We now have weapons as a more reliable resource. We also have a late-stage mutant now as part of our community. And I'm going to say that that has now spread a little bit faster because they I don't know, maybe in the later stages they become more infectious. Just introduces an infection. So I would say instead of the markings, we're gonna just say it's now an accelerated situation. Okay. Well, this is kind of a non-issue, I guess. Okay, determine possibility of halting mutations where they are, even if we can't review. Okay, that'll be the project. Use AI to find way to halt mutation. 3 weeks. Okay, now before that, we also finished this project to convincing the mutants to move in. So we already let in one mutant. We're now determining how the rest of this plays out. I mean, we may as well let the rest of them in, huh? Okay. So we no longer have their favorite food stuff, but the mutants have joined us. Um, yeah, so the mutants have already joined. Okay, so I'm going to say that enough of them, because we were trying to get most of them to come over here. So I'm going to say it's enough that this town is no longer a town. There may be a few holdouts, but they are now an insignificant settlement because they're now a part of us. Okay, so objections, or we will move on. Okay, Untamed Fox, number 3. Someone comes up with an ingenious solution to a big problem and a project finishes early, or someone comes up with a plan to ensure safety and comfort during the coldest months and we start a new project. So, finding a way to halt the mutation is the only project we currently have. Okay. So, what's that? How is that going to, how long is that going to take? Bearing in mind, um, I guess that it would be accelerated growth because we'd be basically hot housing it. But it's not like, I mean, it would have to be on probably on the longer side, I would say, unless we found, I don't know. If we're going to use the factory, it could be like a greenhouse. So, okay, so 6 weeks. So use factory as greenhouse to regrow kale for six weeks. Get us through the rest of the winter. Okay, so this one goes down, and we need an action for the week. Any idea? No, I was adding the music back to the video, but we need an action for this week. Okay. Well, we do have a lot of discussions going on over here that we never chose to do anything about. That we have yet to do anything about. We also have a considerable amount of lore knowledge of the area and things that are going on. So we could maybe do something in preparation for the end here. How many more cards do we have? 8. Okay. Turn on the last android. Is that going to be a project? Okay. So I'll say this time we're going to carefully activate the last android. Two weeks. Okay, objections. Complaints. Any such things? Otherwise, we'll move on to Pocket Ninja. The Queen. Oh, we're getting awful close. You see a good omen. What's the good omen this time? Well, I mean, you know, it's rainy and dreary and cold and miserable, and really just anything happening at this point is just fun and entertainment. A sprig of kale was found growing in the frost. Shoot. How do I... Sometimes... Regrowing kale. Maybe winter kale, too. I don't know if that's even a thing, but... It starts to grow. Nature is reclaiming this dismal landscape. The Kale of Hope. Okay, so these all turn down. What's the action this time? the problems. So I think we can take this one out about the human experiments, because now we know what that was about. We still have the parish members in our dungeon. So now I guess we can also remove the food trade, because there's no one to trade with anymore. Mutants are with us. I mean, I guess we could. We never really did anything with this. Mutant markets. Yeah. Well, so, I mean, I guess what this tells us is that this is a person who was in a Dragon Corp uniform. So I guess that was also indicative that it might be infectious, because we don't know where they came from. I think they were just out in the area that we found them. We're not really short-handed anymore, so I guess we can remove that from a problem as well. Well, so is this... I think this body is separate from the woman, right? She is still here because they brought her back. Yeah, I know, there's a lot going on this time around. Well, at this point I would just say, you know, we're a few cards away from the end of the game, so I would start probably just trying to wrap up some of the loose ends and prepare for what we know is coming. Well, so in winter, when the king card flips over, that's what ends the game. Presumably that's when the corporation is going to find us. Um, so, well, okay, so originally the story began where we had run away with a bunch of stolen weaponry, and so that's why Dragon Corp was interested in us. So right now, where we're situated is we know that we're probably going to have to deal with that eventually. Questionable things is how we're going to deal with it, because we have an AI of our own. We know that the rival corp is acting against them. We've kind of written off the anti-tech community, I think, just because they won't talk to us anymore until we convince them we have no technology. So really, kind of our loose ends are, what are we doing about the AI, the microchips? We're working on activating that android. What do the rival corp actually want? Are they friends or foes? We've decided we're not going to turn into mutants for them. And then eventually we know... We still don't know what happened to the girl that went off into the sprawl. Could try and infiltrate and just drop a bunch of mushroom spores into the city. We are effectively becoming mutants, and we know that eventually that fungus is going to take over everyone's brains. We did have some hacked drones. So basically, I mean, it's all going to come down to we're all infected. We're all going to die unless we do something about the fungus. We know that there's going to be some corporate conflict eventually. And this AI is still being mysterious in how it can help us. Which we're working on, in fact. Next turn those will be resolved, so... But as far as discussions, we were talking about what to do about the mushrooms, what to do with the captured parish that we've still got, how to use the microchips, what else could we know about the corporation. We've got a pretty good amount of knowledge on the corporation. Okay. So, project, I assume? I'm assuming this is going to be a project to infiltrate and infect. Okay. Just start selling mushrooms left, right, and center. Put it in people's food. So, how long are we gonna spend on that? I guess this would include both preparation time and the actual mission. Okay. Okay. So that is that round. Objections or anything of that sort? Yeah. Here we go. We've only got 7 left. Jesper. Number 2. A headstrong community member. What? I feel like this. Is this a spring thing? Oh. Yeah, I feel like we just had this one. A headstrong community member takes charge of the community's work efforts. A project fails and a different one finishes early. Oh, okay, I see. Or a headstrong community member takes control of the community. How are they prevented from it? And due to the conflict, project dice are not reduced. So it's not quite the same thing. So these are the projects. So one finishes early, one fails, or we stop the person entirely, but none of the projects go forward. Okay, so that is both of these. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. So, person working on the android, almost done with it, decides, nah, this is taking too long, we need to take the fight to the Dragon Corp, gathers a small group, and they go heading into the sprawl, heading towards any facilities, any corporate facilities, trying to infect the employees. But work has stopped on activating the android. Okay, so that is that. So this project now finishes using the AI to find a way to stop the mutation. What's the result of that? That one goes down. The AI wants us to start eating healthy. Okay, we'll put that under, I guess community. The AI recommends a healthy diet. To fight mutation. Because that was the whole point and purpose of that. Okay. So the action for this week. I guess maybe that would actually be under lore instead. Okay. So, the infection has actually gotten to such a degree that we finally hear back from our commandos, and it turns out that most of the sprawl is now... God damn it. Most of the sprawl is now infected. Or a lot of the sprawl is now infected. Sprawl population infected. Okay. So whilst attempting to enter in Dragon Corp... Oh, they blame... Okay. Blame DC where it appears centered. So they did manage to infect some of the corporate facilities, but then other people started getting it too, and just through the spread of the collective consciousness, people finally start telling stories and pinpoint to, hey, I think it came from one of those places. So they have no idea that it's actually our doing. They think it's something with that shady corporation. Okay, objections to where we are now, or to what things have been happening. Okay, here we go. Untamed Fox gets the king. Okay. The Frost Shepherds arrive, the game is over. Alright. So, that basically means that, perhaps because the people don't know where the infection came, but Dragon Corp was monitoring it, maybe they found out there were some infiltrators, and they followed the commandos back to our base. Either way, the corporation has found us. What's the result? How does this end? These are corporate tanks. And, corporate drones and helicopters. They finally found us. bunch of people in here too. Okay, well, so let me sort of recap where we're at here. The Dragon Corporation had been founded around an AI that was actually the computerized version of an ancient dragon god. Turns out that there had been a rival god in the area, who is also now solidified as an AI in this somewhat alien machinery underneath this ancient temple complex. The Dragon Corporation had been experimenting on people and trying to upload their consciousness into androids. This factory had been abandoned. We don't necessarily know why they had stopped it, had stopped the project out there, but apparently they'd moved it into the sprawl because we had learned later that at one time we had seen some smoke coming out of the city, and it had been because they'd needed to basically destroy one of the factories. Meanwhile, we had been working on the AI and the computer, getting that back up to snuff, finding out that it was opposed to the human experimentation, was very cautious about the fungus in the area. And the fungus, did we ever learn who actually started that? Oh yes, it's this rival corporation. Now this rival corporation may have been pushing it, but I'm not sure we determined if they had discovered it and had been growing it, or if they just brought it into the area. I think we determined that they'd brought it into the area and had been spreading it. Possibly in some secret corporate war against the Dragon Corp. So we don't know that they have any connection to these two things going on. Doesn't seem to be any connection other than they were just using this strange organic biological warfare, trying to turn the population into mindless mutant fungus zombies and I guess wage war against the city. So presumably the Dragon Corporation, if they are aware of the rival corporation, and they probably would be since they have surveillance over the entire area, they might think that we are working with the rival corporation. And in fact, the rival corporation tried to get us on their side by offering us the chance to become mutated. Of course, that was a backhanded deal because they were actually going to end up turning us into zombie mutants as the fungus ate through our brains and took over. So now that we're kind of in a situation here where this anti-tech community that was somehow arbitrarily connected to the temple and this AI, they have had no real impact now. They're just on their own. So we're in a situation now where we are hunkered down with the mutants against the Dragon Corp. The rival corporation is just out there, might be aware of what's also going on. And now Dragon Corp is also having to deal with its own infection. So we've kind of got this triangle here where maybe the rival corporation's aware of the fungus infection? I mean, there might be now a thing where they are aware that an assault has happened here. They're not quite sure where it came from. Possibly us. They might know that the mutants have moved over to us. No, I don't think they're infected. Or really violent or anything. That is true, because they are connected to the AI here. It would be opposed to whatever whatever Dragon Corp was trying to do. We do still have the anti-AI microchips on our side, as well as a cache of weaponry. Some of the experimental weaponry of Dragon Corp, as well as whatever that mutant brought with him. Yeah, we really do have this struggle, like a humanitarian AI versus an AI that basically wants to turn humans into robots, or at least a cybernetic combination, and then we have the Biological Warfare Corporation turning everyone into mutants instead as an army. Well, we don't actually have to come to a conclusion. The game just ends. We could leave it like this without wrapping it up into a story. That's a little anticlimactic and unsatisfying, but... Well, I don't think you guys can hear the music anyway through Discord, right? I do have the background music. It's not actually... Let me clear all of this out. Do Space Battle. Let's try Space Battle. Space Battle and Mech War, that'll be sufficient. At least the video will have some some appropriate music here. Well, here. So let's do a couple rolls here, maybe. So let's do rolls here for the corporation and for the anti-tech community to see if they get involved. So what do we want to say the chances are of the tech community getting involved? Because so if we're going to say that the AI here, who is connected to the god that they worship, convinces them to go, I would say that's a pretty good... I mean, they also hate the corporation, Dragon Corp, because of their technological ways. So, should we say, like... It's a pretty good chance. So like 1 through 4 they join, and 5 through 6 they don't? Or is 2/3 even too small of a... Because not having technology, or high technology, they probably wouldn't stand a chance. And they would probably know that. And they've also been kind of isolationist as well. But would their religious beliefs overpower, like knowing that the god that they worship is under attack? I'd say that's a pretty powerful motivator. There's just maybe like a 1 in 6 chance they don't show up. So we'll say on a 6 they don't show up. Oh, okay, well that's a 6. So against what our expectations would be, they don't show up. Or at least if they do, they are not enough to help out in any situation. Maybe they don't actually have a connection to the AI god. Maybe they just have a statue from long ago. They no longer remember what it stood for or what it was. But what about this corporation? Let's talk about this corporation getting involved. Most likely, since it's very clear it was trying to do something here, I'm going to say it would take the opportunity to do something. But are they going to join our battle here, or are they going to attack the city? I guess we'll do a 50-50 on that one. We'll do odds, they come help us. Evens, they go and attack the city directly. Another 6, okay. So whilst we're busy over here, the rival corporation has taken that opportunity to have its own attack against the city, which will probably have some impact upon the effectiveness of the attack. It's a terrible helicopter, but it's a, we'll say, aircraft and whatever. I don't know. Okay. So we've got this battle now. The rival gods are now fighting one another in the form of futuristic AI. We've pretty much got all we can. We've tried to infect the city. It's worked. The rival corporation has come, taking advantage of that, taking advantage of the weakness, taking advantage of the fact that a large portion of the corporate military is now at our doorstep. A little bit of a battle going on. What's the climax? How does this end? We do have experimental weaponry on our side. We've got the power of Kale. We've got mutants. Got a powerful AI of our own. We've got microchips. Okay. So the distraction is going to cause problems for Dragon Corp's efficacy. I guess the real question is, how do we want to end this? Because really, I don't think we would come to an actual full conclusion, so much as we're more worried about what happens to us. Yeah. So basically, it's going to come down to, how does our community survive this? What happens to us? Wrong microchips. So we say that, okay. So whilst we're battling Dragon Corp, the other corporation takes advantage and attacks the city. Presumably also spreading more of the mutation. But while in that attack, Dragon Corp gets distracted. We notice that suddenly there's confusion amongst the forces. Some of us try and flee. People die. but enough of us make it out. And that's the end. We leave behind this corporate battle, as well as the AI that is also presumably attacking the other AI as much as it can. Yeah, we are infected, so we're escaping, but we're still our future is still bleak. I mean, this is appropriately cyberpunk, actually. Um, we'll escape the war, but we're still infected, and that infection will eventually take over our brains. And since the rival corp knows about the infection and the mutation and was weaponizing it, perhaps someday they'll come for us. Yeah, pretty much this is a story of doom here. Unlike the other one, we didn't necessarily overcome darkness. And in our haste, the kale is gone, trampled over. Right. Balance of power has shifted. One battle in a long war has been fought. Uncertainty and doom overshadow everything in this rainy, gloomy winter. I'm trying to think back to the Neuromancer books, because it kind of touches on that a little bit. There is a little bit of shadow war between the corporations, but I think that's pretty much just how it sort of always is in the cyberpunk genres. Shadowrun is kind of the same way. It's like this constant struggle, and that's sort of the balance of power, is that one corporation rises, another falls, and it just sort of goes round and round. But as far as we're concerned, well, their battle is no longer our concern. What started out as a simple heist of a lot of experimental weaponry has now led to possibly our complete demise. We never did learn what happened to the girl that went to raid the corporate offices of the Dragon Corp. We'll never really know what becomes of the AI, the former gods turned AI, fighting each other. But our settlement has left the area. Infected, our days are numbered, our time is short. But that may be something for another day. But anyway, that's the game. Cautionary tale. All those memories lost like tears in frozen winter rain. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty grim, but I think it is also very genre appropriate. But it's also kind of how the game is too. The Quiet Year is open-ended like that. Like it's you against the world for a year, and then the bad guys show up and the game is over. And there's no conclusion, there's no happy ending. The real story is the mutants we made along the way. So, yeah. Well, I don't know if we want to do this again for the next time in another place, or we could do another sort of decision like game. Like I was thinking of maybe doing King of Dragon Pass. That's a more structured game, but it is a decision-based game. And it's one of the inspirations. I still kind of want to work towards this community game development, so I'd like to maybe kind of branch into other games like that I've talked about for inspiration, and then eventually we'd kind of do a development stream where we'd sit down and make our own game. That's kind of the end goal that I would like to keep pushing the streaming towards. So maybe we'll do that next time. Unless we want to go another round of this or something. Or just completely do something else again. Now, another thing, um, I know streaming time is kind of limited to this time, on Saturdays around this time, and we talked about how other times really wouldn't work out, but I think that I might like to do some other streaming, maybe as secret streaming, not necessarily scheduled, but it would just be sort of like if I felt like doing something, um, like going back to Planet Coaster or whatever, and someone was online to join in, then it would just be that way. But so, I'm kind of thinking of doing that, like having more secret streams that are less scheduled, and then just continuing on the weekend stream as being like this community-driven thing heading towards this game. Because then I could do streaming sort of irregularly, and we wouldn't necessarily be tied down to whether or not my internet works or not, and then have to wait a whole week. So I don't know, but yeah, that's the end of this session anyway. This one was a little bit different. It definitely seemed to have a structured story to it. We just kind of got there by bits and pieces. Yeah, I think Discord is definitely more reliable. Again, I'd still like to use Twitch just because it is a little bit more flexible for me. But I think Discord as a reliable second second option is pretty good. But anyway, this has been quite a long session once again, so I think we can go ahead and call it here. Yeah, thanks for coming out, everyone. Have a good whatever. We'll see you all next time.